welcome back to another video about Star Wars Unlimited. I have chosen this playmat as we are going to be talking about Shadows of the Galaxy. Pre-release is really soon. I am extremely excited for Set 2 to release. Pre-release is in like 2 or 3 days as the time of recording, but you guys are going to be seeing this on that first pre-release day on the 5th, just in time for you to be going to your events. Now, who am I? I'm someone who only got into one pre-release last time, but I went 8-0 at it. I'm here to give you some tips from someone who's played a lot of card games as to exactly how you should go about making sure that you're in the best possible position to win your pre-release. Of course, not everyone cares about winning, so people just care about seeing all the exciting new cards, and if that's you, power to you, but I like at least being able to play something decent, and the difference between sealed and draft is that you kind of are at the whims of what the packs give you. So, what I've got here is a fat stack of various different commons from Spark of Rebellion, and I'm going to be using this as a prop to explain exactly what you should be doing in order to basically have the best odds at winning your pre-release. Before I do that, the first thing you should do is read the card list. That's tip number one, read the card list. Go on the official website or go on another website, go on a Discord, wherever you have access to all the cards in the set, and read them. And that includes the reprints. There are some reprints. For example, Surprise Strike gets a reprint. Many of you may not have known that. So make sure you go and you actually see what cards are in the set, so you're not caught off guard by any of them. Understanding what is available in the card pool, so you know what threats your opponent may have, is going to tighten up your play massively, and is probably going to be the second biggest factor outside of your actual deck you build. I think generally speaking, in Constructed, like actually the game knowledge is the most important part, because you can just net deck a decent deck, and then if you've got the game knowledge and you understand how the deck works, you're good to go. But in Sealed, the deck really does come first, because doesn't matter how much game knowledge you have, if you're playing a completely useless pile of garbage, it's not going to help you. So tip one, read the card pool. With that in mind, now you understand the card pool, we can look at actually how you're going to go and build the deck. So what I've got here is a selection of leaders. I probably should have taken 6, because I believe you get 6 packs of pre-release, but I got 5. Of varying varieties here, and you'll see I have not got the best option, which would always of course be Boba. You can actually see I've only got one villain leader. I don't know that Krennic would necessarily be that good in a pre-release environment, but anyway. So if we say this is a sample, right? Let's say these are the leaders that you were to open up in your pre-release. The first thing I'd be doing is going, okay, which of these can I feasibly build around? Here I would say I would remove Jin and Chewbacca. I would say, okay, these 3 actually look pretty viable. Honestly, I would say really these are my 2 options. And if you get unlucky and you somehow manage to dodge opening any of one attribute, so you only get heroic leaders or you only get villainous leaders, you will need to resort to playing the starter deck leaders that come as part of the kit. You can use those, so you can use Moff Gideon, you can use the Mandalorian, so be aware you can use those. So you're always going to have the option between these 2. That is the one thing you are always going to have. I've chosen these 2 as my most competitive options, factoring that in. Why is that? Well, firstly, in a sealed environment, games are going to be quick, they're going to be snappy, right? So you're going to want something that is deploying early. The later your leader deploys, the less likely you are to win, and I think it is a disproportionate level of success you see in a sealed environment with a low cost leader than a high cost leader, just because the leader flip turn is the power turn of any deck, and that's when you're able to really cheat the curve of what you'd normally expect to see. And this is basically why a card like Sabine is probably the best sealed leader you could get in set 1, because it just comes out on 4, it's got 5 HP, it's a reasonably big body, and cards like Krennic and Leia are also pretty good, because 5 is also not too bad at all. You also want to be keeping in mind the color that leader is, because you're obviously going to be forced into that, right? Like, yes, I may pack a Sabine, but if I get nothing good in aggression, then what good does it do me, right? Like, now, if I have enough stuff in another color to compensate for that, okay, well, maybe we can consider it, but that's going to come down to the pulls on an individual basis. So that's the first discussion. Choose a few leaders you're happy playing, right? This is not going to, what's going to decide which leader you pick now is going to be your actual pulls. So don't get caught up on the leader you're using. just have a few options, and then we'll go from there. So let's keep these at the top here so you can understand what I'm talking about. Now, I've literally just grabbed a load of random comments, so I actually have no idea what's here, which should authentically replicate the experience of opening these in a pack. I hope they're not sorted. They don't look like they are. And it's a good chunk. So I'm going to walk you through what you want to do. As you're going to basically just crack all your packs open. You don't even need to look at the cards. You can just open them, boom, 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 remove the base, remove the leader, put them to one side. You're going to be able to use any base you want that is not a rare base. There are no rare bases in set 2, so basically everyone's going to be on a 30 HP base, and you can use whichever one you want. The store should have, that you're at should have an ample supply of you to use whichever one you want. So then you've got your remaining cards. You've got 6 packs worth of pulls. And what you're going to do is you're going to create a grid here. So at the top, we're going to have your. Actually, I may need to move these over a little bit. So I'm just going to put these here so I've got adequate space for this grid, because I think this is probably going to take up more space than that. So in this grid, you're going to have monocolor along the top, and you're going to have hero and villain on the side. So I'm going to find one from each color, just so you can see what this should look like. There we go. So this is the grid you're going to set up, right? And then what you're going to do is you're going to take your pulls and you're going to sit there and you're going to lay them all out in this grid. So this is probably roughly the amount of cards you're going to be dealing with, I feel like. What's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, probably closer to that many. So I've just halved off a chunk. So let's say this is your pre-release pulls. This is all you've got. So now we're going to sit here and we're going to populate the grid. And I appreciate this is probably not the most interesting thing to watch. You're also going to be able to put your generic cards up here in the corner. I appreciate this may not be the most interesting thing to watch, but I want to show you just going through the full process so you understand exactly what you're doing. So you're going to go through, this card gets a reprint, as does this card. And you want to populate the whole grid, as does this card. And the reason we're doing this is so we can look at a glance and see, firstly, the number of cards we have for each aspect. Because obviously, you know, yes, we may have some very, very powerful cards in one particular aspect, but we may have none in another. And if we've got none in another, then, you know, we can't realistically play that. As you can see here, this very well could have been our pre-release pulls. And you see, I have no red hero and I have nothing green at all, right? Like, if this was my pre-release pulls, I'd be a little bit miffed. I'd be like, wow, nothing green whatsoever. This is probably less cards than you would realistically have, and you're pretty unlikely. Oh, you know what? Let me just go ahead and grab another chunk, just so we have something to discuss. Here we get some actual green cards. I don't know, so mono blue. Here we get one red hero. Let's see if we can find a green hero. Just for, I want to make a point about that. So let's come on. I don't actually have any. Oh, well, there you go. Sometimes you just don't get them. So, in all that big wad of commons I got, not a single green hero. Okay, so, now we have populated the grid. What we're going to do is, we take another look at our leaders and we go, okay. So you can see here I have actually one for each colour and then only one in villain. So, fortunately for me, obviously it would have been fantastic to use this super laser technician, but firstly, I've got bugger all green, right? Like, okay, I've got some here. But none of these cards are particularly good. Obviously, resupply is strong, but none of these are super strong. So essentially, Leia is straight out. Also, fortunately for me, if I was going to play villain, it's not going to be green. But honestly, looking at the number of villain cards we've got here, right? Like, if I'm playing villain, it's going to be red, blue, Krennic. And looking at that, it doesn't seem fantastic. Actually, if I were to sit here and I would look at my number of generic cards, well, I've got quite a lot of them in yellow, and I've got quite a lot of them in red. I've got a few in green and a few in blue, but most of my generic cards are here. Now, looking at my heroic options, again, it's also quite anemic, but I've got the most in yellow, and then I've got some more in red here, and I've got a couple of heroic cards, but both the ones I got here are actually pretty good, and I got some generics here. So actually, looking at this, I would say I would probably go, well, actually, Sabine, it gives me red. I've got a decent number of red cards here. They are quite cheap. I can jam them in. And I'm probably going to go yellow, but I'm not going to make the decision just yet. That's what I'm thinking at this stage. What I'm going to do is now, so I'm leaning towards Sabine. So let's say I'm going to take Sabine. And we're going to have that as our default now. So I'm going to take all the red cards and all the heroic cards that I now have access to. I'm going to put them together. And we're just going to see what does our deck look like right now. So you can see here, this is going to be a very significant portion of your deck that's coming from here. And it might not be enough. I may actually not have got enough cards for this to be representative. Obviously, you're basically looking at like where the quantity is. And you're going to sit here and you're going to sort them by cost. You're going to go, okay, well, what have we got here? We got some 1-drops there. We've got a few 1-drops for 2-drops. We got a couple of them here. And we got some 3s. Okay. Actually, you're also going to grab your generics, of course, as well. So we got another 1 there and a 4 and a 5. So, if we look here, we've got this 5 and this 4. This 4, it's a 3-5. Honestly, that is probably fine in sealed. So you probably would play this. Looking at our 3-drops, this is good. Honestly, I don't know that I would really want this, but I think you could feasibly play it. This card, I think, would be fantastic in sealed, having an out to your opponent, just getting some really powerful upgrades. For example, the Darksaber is going to be very, very strong. So we actually got 2 mission briefings, so we've got a lot of draw power in this deck. And then on our 2-drop, we got 2 Pathfinder, we got a Pathfinder, we got 2 Partisan Insurgents. This card, I think, would be very, very strong in a sealed environment. We got a Spec Force Soldier, which is absolutely a decent card. We got an upgrade +1/+1, and we got this Precision Fire. Do we have that many troopers? Honestly, yeah. Most of our units are troopers, actually. So Precision Fire even works, and then here you got a generic card in this Confiscate. So I'm looking at this, and I'm actually going, you know what? This is actually not too bad of a pool. So, and this is going to be, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 of my cards are going to be coming from here, with a potential 13th there. You may find yourself needing to play cards off aspect, by the way, if your pulls are really, really bad. Okay, well, so now we've got to examine and say, okay, well, if we're taking Sabine, this is our pool. What are we using for our substitute, for our supplementary color? And realistically, it's probably just going to be the color where you have the most additional bits. So we got 8 cards that I can bring in from yellow. We've only got 6 cards I could bring in from blue, and from green we've also only got 6 cards. So realistically, the decision sort of makes itself, right? Like, you're gonna be able to just look at this and go, well, yep, that's pretty much that. So I've made it sound very, very simple, and like it's not that complicated. But fortunately for us, this setup where I've actually got a pretty jank set of cards together has worked out very well in my favor, because if you look here, what we're going to do is we're going to sort these quickly by cost, adding in the yellow cards. 5, so we've got 1-drop, a 2-drop, got a 4-drop, a 1-drop, 2-drop, 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 4-drop. So you can see here this curve is actually pretty nice, I'm not going to lie. And generally speaking, because Sabine is such an aggressive deck, you'd want to be playing these cheap decks. These cheap units. So if we sit here and we count up, we go, okay, well, what have we got? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 1-drops. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 2-drops. Of course, Surprise Strike's sort of an anomaly there, but we've also got a lot of units, which is good. So we're at 13 cards there. 14, 15, 16, 17. 4 more 3-drops. 3 4-drops, taking us to 20. And then we've got 21. So you can see here, that's actually not enough cards for a deck. Now, this probably won't happen to you. You're going to have a lot more cards actually in your pool. Realistically, what I should have done is just taken all of these out. But just for the purposes of illustration, because you may find yourself in this situation, is now you're going to have to sit here and you're going to have to examine your other options off aspect, and you're going to sit there and you're going to go, okay, well, what else have I got? Now, in this situation, there actually isn't a better option for me in terms of color combination, because you can see I was very, very low on playable greens, very, very low. I mean, blue was not awful, but you can see the quality of the blue cards here, and that's the other thing that you're going to consider, right? Well, what have I got in blue? I've got a 2/2, I got a 2/4, I've got a 5-drop 3/5. That's pretty late. I've got a 1-drop 1/3, and then I got a piece of removal. Consular Security Forces is a good card. This is a 3/7 in a sealed setting. Would be very, very scary. So this is like the power card I'm seeing when I see these cards. Whereas if I look at what my yellow cards were, well, I've got a 3/4 Ambusher that comes out on 4 in space. That's not too bad. I got a 4/4. I got Surprise Strike, which is massive. Like, this card will win games. I got a 3/2 that says like that. I got a 3/2 that can potentially mill my opponent out if the game comes to that. I got a 2/2 shielded. I got a 2/3 with an on attack to potentially exhaust my opponent's board and like just win the race. I got Mining Guild Tie, which is going to draw me cards, which I may just really, really need. So actually, I'd be staring at this and I'd be going, well, you know what? I feel like the decision is fairly clear between going yellow and going blue. But of course, you may need to find yourself supplementing your pulls with basically with a load of crap from other colors. And so when you do that, you're going to basically need to evaluate like, okay, well, how much am I happy paying, right? Like, would I pay 3 for a Death Star Stormtrooper? I don't want to do it, but I may have to do it, right? Like, would I want to play 4 for a 2/2? Obviously not. Would I want to play 6 for a 3/2 that deals 4 damage? I mean, that feels slightly better. But I want to play 5 for one of these, right? Like, would I pay 4 for a Snowtrooper Lieutenant? Would I play 8 for an ATSD? I'd probably pay 8 for an ATSD, to be fair, but I'm never resourcing up to 8, right? Realistically, I think with the leader we've chosen, I would just be grabbing all my very, very cheap units, like the cheapest stuff I could find. For example, like this, I could play for 5, this I could play for 5, and they wouldn't be awful. This I could play for 5, this I could play for 4. This I can play for 6, this I can play for 3. This I can play for 5, and realistically that probably tops me off to 7. Yeah, that tops me off to my 30 card deck, and there you go. And obviously that is not ideal, right? You want to be resourcing all of these cards, but that is a situation you can find yourself in. I hope that example was helpful for explaining how you're going to go about actually designing your deck. So that's the second tip, the process by which you just need to be organized. Because if you're not, like, what I often see is players, they'll just sort of sort their cards into like cost, or they'll sort their cards into color, but they won't subdivide. If you're not subdividing by all of these different things, I think you're making your life very, very, very difficult, to be honest with you. I think like this is such a cheat code to doing well, especially in an environment that's generally going to be casual. And you know, you want to win the extra packs, right? You want to win the extra packs. So that is what you would want to do. Tip 3. Now, tip 3, and this is, so tip 1 is read the card list, understand the card pool. Tip 2 is do this grid. I'm gonna resort all of these cards into the grid, just for illustrative purposes, and so I have something to do with my hands. So that is the next tip. Tip 3 is going to be regarding what you are allowed to do. All of the cards you pull in this pool are legal for you to use. So what I mean by that is in between rounds, you can chop and you can change. I believe the only thing you can't change is your leader. I think that is the one thing you have to remain locked in, but I might be lying about comments. But basically you can change whatever you want. And so if you find that you are not happy, actually, you know what? I'm pretty sure that's a lie. I think you can change literally everything. I think you can change your leader. I think it's you can use whatever you want, literally whatever you want. Yes, no, I am capping. You absolutely can change your leader. Ignore that. So if you, for example, if you find yourself in a really, really tight decision and maybe like, oh darn, I really wish I'd gone for like Krennic instead with this pool, well, just do that, right? Like after game 1, if it just goes really, after round 1, if it goes really, really badly, just swap into Krennic. So that is another thing that you are able to do, and make sure you do it, right? Like, obviously you're basically like you've never played the deck you're using before, so you want to basically, you know, get some games in and like see how it feels, and if the deck is functioning well, you don't have to, you know, if it ain't broke, you don't have to fix it, but the option for you to do that is certainly there. So that is my third tip for sealed. So yeah, again, to summarize, read the card list, make sure that you are organized when you sort all the cards out, be open to chopping and changing. The fourth tip is going to be, and the final tip is going to be regarding play. In my experience with these, with sealed, just understanding like when to take initiative is just really valuable. I think it's an extremely important skill to have for general gameplay, but I've experienced that in sealed, like if you just know when to take the initiative and like understanding like when it's fine, like your opponent's gonna be, you're both gonna be playing something pretty janky, right? They're not gonna be using every resource every single turn, so just knowing when you can just claim and when you're just gonna be able to sweep from there, and like when it puts you in a really advantageous situation is very valuable. The fifth tip that I'm going to give you is around my thoughts for what I think is going to be particularly good. So what should you value? What things should you sit there and go, okay, yeah, this is definitely going to be strong and sealed. So set 2 has has 4 themes, right? It's sort of linked, but four basically big mechanics. The first is upgrades. Like generally the concept of upgrades are going to be very prevalent. So if you open lots of ways to interact with upgrades, I would seriously consider like making use of that. For example, if you open multiple confiscates, if you open the disabling fangfighter, right, where like this is a 3/2 ship that also defeats an upgrade. If your opponent like opens a Darksaber and they Darksaber and you just go cool, defeat the Darksaber, that is such a ridiculous game swing. It might win you the game then and there. Like that might win you the game in Constructed. So it's definitely like a mega power play in Sealed. So yeah, so there's upgrades, there's bounties, there's smuggle, and there is capture. So I think all of these mechanics are actually far stronger in a sealed environment than they are in a constructed environment. The number of tools and answers you're going to have is going to be extremely limited in terms of how you're able to interact with these things. So if a card is pushed enough that it might see playing constructed, it's going to be absolutely broken in sealed, right? So if you're opening like your 3/5s like Toro or like DJ, I forgot his name, Cassian, if you're opening these 3/5s, these cards are going to be outrageously good in sealed. A lot of these bounties that may be slightly iffy in constructed are going to be very good in sealed because your opponent's not going to have efficient ways to answer them. Personally, if I was looking at the 2 best card pools, I think, and this was unintentional, red and yellow on balance just have some really powerful tools, to the point where I'm just sitting here going, I don't know, man, like unless I pull, like I need to pull really busted in blue or really busted in green for me to look at not wanting to just jam red or yellow. I think green's next in the pecking order. I think green has some really pushed bounties. It's got cards like Timely Intervention, which if you open a few of those, like, yeah, by all means, like Timely is going to be crazy. But yeah, my inclination is red and yellow on your leader at the bare minimum. I think like red and yellow leaders are just by far the best leaders. Thinking about the green leaders, I don't know if there's any that I would want to use in a sealed environment. And thinking about the blue leaders outside of Ray, I don't really think there's any I would really want to use. I'm very much looking at red, right? Like Bosk will be incredibly strong in sealed. Han will be incredibly strong. Kylo will be incredibly strong. I've forgotten what the 4th red leader is, but I'm sure it'll come to me in a flash of inspiration. But all 3 of those are crazy. So if you see red on your leader, it's probably pretty good, and you should seriously consider it. Yellow, much the same. Less good ones for sealed. Afra's terrible in sealed. In my opinion, I wouldn't play it. But Cad Bane is probably going to be crazy. The Mandalorian will definitely be quite strong, I think. 6 deploy is quite late, so I'd be cautious. But the same with Cad Bane. Whereas if you look at red, I mean it's all 4 and 5 deploys, which I think is just going to be very strong. I mean, really, I think like I'm looking at red for my leader, and then ideally I'm going to open a nice big yellow pool. But I could go green. I think that would be fine. I think I'm basically just staying away from blue. So that's my rambly sort of thing there.
for the leaders. And cycling back to the mechanics in the set, I think, like, you know, generally speaking, you're going to a pre-release to have fun and to be able to sort of, like, you know, play all the new cards, try out all the new mechanics. But I think, like, this environment is going to make those new mechanics really, really strong, right? Like, cards that are smuggling at, like, that don't seem that great and constructed, actually in a sealed environment are pretty good, right? Like, like, the fact you're not losing a card from hand lets you just, like, dump your whole hand down, and you can just afford to play some of these slightly worse cards because it lets you be really, really aggressive. There's just going to be way less answers for these. I think capture is not going to be the strongest mechanic in constructed because there's lots of ways to interact with it. But if you like, just capture your opponent's board like once or twice and they don't really have a way to remove stuff on your board, you kind of just sit there and laugh. And bounties, I think, are going to be really, really good depending on the bounties you get. In particular, I'm thinking of there's a bounty that gives out 2 experiences. I think that's probably the worst one, but it's gonna be good. There's a bounty that ramps. That'll be very, very strong if you ever get to land that. I think that one's 2 combo-y most likely. There's a bounty that deals burn damage. That's gonna be crazy. There's a bounty that searches the top cards of your deck and just plays something, right? Like, that's gonna be insane. The top 10 cards in a sealed deck, that's like a third of your deck, or probably half by the time you get to it, right? Like, you're finding a good card. So yeah, like, that card I think is going to be really, really powerful. Triggering, like focus on just the cards you think that, yes, okay, maybe this is a little bit niche and constructed, but if you look at a sealed environment, like, how much easier it is going to be to get the value out of those cards, and look at seriously playing those cards, because I think they're going to be really, really good. So that is basically my rambly thoughts and sort of tips, my top 5 tips to crush your pre-release. Let me know if you found this video useful or insightful in the comment section down below, and of course like it if you did. My patrons have had this video for a few extra days, so if you'd be interested in supporting me, it's $5 a month. I post in-depth guides on my Patreon weeks and months before they go out on YouTube, and I try and post all my videos a good while early on YouTube as well. I've been sick on Patreon as well. I've been sick recently, so this is slightly less early than usual. So yeah, I really appreciate that support. I will be also doing unboxings for my pre-release kits. I don't know if I'll try and film the actual unboxing. I'll potentially try and film, like, my process of, like, actually constructing the deck, or at least, like, you know, making the piles. I'll take pictures and commentate over it at the bare minimum. I'm going to 2 pre-releases this weekend, one on Saturday and one on Sunday. So look forward to those. Some content around that. Hopefully I will win them, and hopefully I will pull a Kylo Ren showcase. I pulled a Boba showcase at my last one, so with any luck I'll be able to duplicate that and get my most wanted leader showcase in this set. There we go. That is it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you found it useful. Like, subscribe, all that usual stuff, and I hope to see you guys in my next Star Wars Unlimited video. Cheers.